All right, y'all. Welcome back to the Who's Right podcast. And um, amazing day happened. A whole bunch of things happened on Amazing Day. But before we get into it, subscribe to the channel, like this video, give us your comments. Let us know how you're feeling. Let us know what you're thinking. But before we get started, Victor, how you doing?
Doing good, man. Yeah, I've had some FOMO from that amazing day. It looked like it was a lot of fun. Glad that the fans got to experience that, and shout out to Steve Cohen for again making this franchise great again. We feel like we've been missing this fan appreciation for the longest time, and Steve Cohen is finally bringing it. And so, glad to see all the fans there, all the old Mets there, joining in with Daryl and Doc and even Matt Harvey, and then all the new guys in the future to come. So really exciting stuff, and wish I could have gone out, but maybe one day in the future he'll put one on again.
Yeah, no, for sure, and it was an amazing day. Not pun not intended, but they even had the prospects there, so everybody showed up to Amazing Day. Obviously Soto and Nunez and Brazaban didn't make it because of their plane, but the fact that everybody was there. It just tells you the organization and how they've taken care of everybody. To be honest with you,
Yeah,
and so it's amazing to see, and I hope future players are watching this.
yeah, and but not everybody was there, right? Pete wasn't there. He was there in spirit, but he wasn't there. And we know that the fans wanted him to be there. So it was great to see, especially after our discussion last week. That it seems like a lot of fans are on my side. Pay the man. This would have been a great opportunity for him to be there and establish his kind of presence as a Met, as a lifelong Met. But you know, Steve Cohen has some words to say about him.
Yeah, Steve Combs had some words to say, and I think the tide has shifted to more on my side after what Steve said. Obviously, there's still fans like you, a couple others that I saw on social media that are still clamoring for Pete. But ultimately, let's address what Steve said. Little recap. I imagine everybody has heard it by now. Stearns gave his typical GM speak right before Cohen took the mic. Because he was asked about Pete, and he gave GM speak. He didn't really say anything, but then the crowd started chanting for Pete, and Cohen jumped in and said, "Calm down. Let's talk about this. Let me let you know a little bit, even though I can't tell you everything. I'm gonna let you know a little bit, and I'm gonna let you know that it's been hard, and I'm not liking what is being presented to us because at the end of the day, it's like I've said before. Cohen didn't get where he got by making bad deals, right? He's not going to bid against himself. He's not going to make a bad deal just because you want to have a bad deal. He's going to give you what the market dictates, right? What did Cohen say at the beginning of the year? I hope Pete makes it hard. Now Pete is making it hard, just not in the way that Cohen was expecting, right? Cohen was expecting to fight with other teams for Pete, and that's not what's going on. Pete's just, we all want to blame Boris, and Boris is has a lot to do with this. But at the end of the day, Pete's the one in charge, right? It's your future. I would say to Pete, what do you want to do?
Well, he's got to put his foot down with Boris, but there I can see both sides to the story right now because Ryan Finkelstein on Locked On Mets had a great breakdown of everything that transpired over the weekend, and so I encourage you guys to go listen to that episode. And he talked about how it kind of like all came to surface, right? The details of the contract, the negotiations that went through. and it's gotten ugly to this point. And but we can see where both sides are coming from. Uh, uh, Steve doesn't want to make this deal because it's not because of the like he said, it's because of the structure, not because of the amount per se. It looks like, according to Ryan Finkelstein, that the contract is really based off of deferrals. Because if they give Pete the money that he wants, then they're going to end up paying him a lot more than it's going to be worth it. So we talked about it last year, I think, when we were talking about these signings and signing guys like JD Martinez, even where if you sign him for a $10 million deal, then it's really going to look like a $20 million deal, and that might not make it worth it. And so Steve is playing by those same kind of standards in this Pete deal, and where he wants to defer a lot of the money so that he doesn't have to pay the MLB so much more. But it looks like Scott Boras doesn't want that kind of deal. He wants Pete to get paid now. He wants him to have his money now so that he doesn't have to wait 10 years. And, he brought up a great point that Scott Boras doesn't get paid until Pete gets paid. And so Scott Boras doesn't get paid until the deferral money comes in. And, he's an old man. He's 72 years old, so he might not want to wait that long to get his money. But at the end of the day, Pete is getting the contract that they want. They can both agree on that. I think it's the structure of the deal that's really been weighing on him. And maybe guys are talking him in his ear and telling him that Scott can get him the deal that he wants. But, it just seems like right now these two sides are wanting to make a deal, but can't get pen to paper. And, it's just frustrating to see. Because everyone's frustrated at this point. The fans are frustrated. Pete's frustrated. Boris is frustrated, and now we see that Steve is exhausted from it all. And so, and one more thing, we talk about the market all the time, but it really seems like no team is really out there bidding for Pete, and that could be for the reason that he's pricing himself out of the market, but it also could be because they know that Steve Cohen wants Pete Alonso back, and that he might match the deal anyway, and so there's no point in even trying and pushing that deal up. Which that part really doesn't make sense, because why not just try to make your rival teams pay more? It doesn't really affect you much. So it just seems like he's not getting the deal that he wants from other teams. That the Mets have agreed on a deal, and they just can't come to terms with what that structure is going to look like.
Yeah, no, for sure. And with all these reports out there, you know, who knows at the end of the day what's true? To be honest with you, because as we all know, Stearns doesn't let anything out, right? So what Cohen may be talking about, we have no idea. It could be the money, it could be the deferred, it could be the years. Um, at the end of the day, we actually don't have an idea, because all the leaks are coming from the Boris side. Because just like we've experienced the last couple of years, all the moves that Stearns does, he doesn't talk about, and we're surprised when it happens. Other than a move here or there, for example, a Soto move, everybody knew that we were all in, so that's not a surprise to anybody. But all the other moves, when these people were signed, um, for the most part, we didn't know what it was happening, right? Who knew the Frankie Montas deal was happening? When Mania happened, who knew that was going to happen, right? So I have a hard time, we're going to talk about it, all these speculations and stuff like that. But I also have a hard time believing that a lot of these reports, because we actually don't know what the structures are. But before we continue, shout out to Jonathan in the chat. That's another guy that wasn't at Amazing Day is Jeff McNeil. Jonathan says he has some footage of him golfing. I wouldn't be surprised because he's, a big golfer, but it's disappointing. And the question is, the question is, why wasn't Jeff McNeil at Amazing Day? Is that a precursor to something, a trade happening in the future, or is he unhappy with the Pete saga? Because him and Pete are tight. What is going on? Or he didn't want to field the questions about Pete because him and Pete are tight, right? That's interesting. If you do have that footage, that'd be crazy to see. But um, you know, why wasn't Jeff McNeil at Amazing Day?
You're gonna start these rumors, man. You're gonna have an article written on you. Jeff McNeil protests Pete Alonso's steal by golfing on Amazing Day, and you're gonna be, sorry because you're putting Jeff McNeil's name through the mud, but he probably was golfing. We're not going to go around that. He was definitely spending his time on the off season, working on his swing, not the baseball swing, but we know that that's going to affect him later on. But Jeff McNeil is a Met. He's been an All Star with us, so would have loved to see him there. But at the end of the day, he got a lot of slack last season, so I don't think anyone particularly missed him all too much. But going back to what you were saying about Scott with David Stearns and having all of his chips on the table, or not having his chips on the table, and not really exposing much to the media. I agree he doesn't really expose much, but who does is Steve Cohen. Steve Cohen, I think, has been blatant on what he wants. Even when it came to Juan Soto, when it came to Max Scherzer and Justin Verlander in the past, he's had all of his chips on the table and given his thoughts. Because just at the end of the day, David Stearns, but even more Steve Cohen, are a fan just like you and me. They want to see their team built around these star players and have their teams be they're basically playing fantasy baseball right now, right? But in a more business tactical sense. And so Steve Cohen definitely has his feelings out there. And I'll go back to this word I said in the past. Like, I know that he's worried about the Steve Cohen tax that he's going to exceed by making this deal with Pete. But he wasn't worried about those deals when he made the deal with Juan Soto or even any of these other starting pitchers that he signed. And so it's just curious that he's putting his foot on the ground here and the line in the sand that he doesn't want to exceed that with Pete. But at the end of the day, like we talked about, we don't know the full extent to these contract negotiations. It sounds like they gave him a fair deal and he hasn't accepted yet. But we're not going to know any of this until all of the reports come out. And so, I'm just love to see Pete back. We got a month until opening day. It's gonna come up on us really quick, and a lot of exciting stuff. But another thing that we wanted to talk to you guys about before we moved on was we have more relief pitchers in the market. Something that Steve Cohen talked about at Amazing Day was in that little excerpt was that he said the more players that we sign with Pete Alonso, the more players that we sign after Pete Alonso, the more players that we sign, the less likely it is to get Pete Alonso. And the news is that we're in the market to acquire Tim Hill, a lefty reliever that pitched for the Yankees last year. And so another former Yankee in the rumor talks for the Mets. And so exciting stuff because he's an electric pitcher. Even though he's like 43 years old, he still has got it. He still is able to pitch well. And yeah, would love to see Tim Hill in a Mets uniform.
Yeah, no, for sure. So That wouldn't be a bad pickup. I'd love to see that. But it's I'm not sure if we're gonna. There's a lot of teams in on Tim Hill. Um, so it'd be interesting to see what he values. Does he value going back to the Yankees, or does he want to, um, you know, um, be somewhere else, or stay in New York and be with the Mets, right? It'd be a great pickup. We'll have that second lefty in the bullpen, and it's something that would really help this bullpen. Before we get out of here, I did want to touch on something real quick. Is What about if we don't get Pete back? Jonathan posted our potential lineup, and he has Meneses at first base. I would rather them kind of give Beatty a shot, if it was me. But because Meneses is what he is. I think at this point, I don't think he's good depth, but Beatty still has a potential, or maybe that potential Torkelson trade. He's a guy that hit 30 home runs a couple years ago, and had a bad year last year, but started picking it up at the end of the season. And so, is it something that he rediscovered and just had a bad, really, really, really bad first half, or is it something that is going to continue for Torgerson? So I wouldn't mind seeing those two, right? Leaving Vientos at third, and keeping him there because of the uncertainty of first base, all right, and having either Beatty or a potential Turkerson trade, because in the Tigers need a third baseman. So in that trade, Beatty might go with over there. So it's one of those things where I think either of those two options might be good if we don't get Pete back, and just give Beatty a shot, or see Torkelson take it over.
Yeah, no, if we don't get Pete back, I don't think we're making any moves. Torkelson would be nice, but he's not the most electric first baseman. And I believe that he's still signed to, he's got 2 more years of control. Correct me if I'm wrong, but that would also not be a bad move. But I know that the Mets also want to leave themselves open to sign more free agent bats next year, and a Vladdy Jr. or whoever they can find. But it seems like they have a lot of faith in Brett Beatty. It seems like they're relying on him to have a bounce back season. He's only had so many plate appearances at the major league level, and he's gonna get a shot at least and at spring training, or even make the opening day roster. Because at this point, Brett Beatty is what he is. He's not going to benefit from rotting in the AAA level, or from developing anymore. I think he got enough of that last year, although he did get hurt. Maybe he does start off the year, but this is the year of Brett Beatty. If he doesn't make it to the major leagues this year, then he doesn't make it to the major leagues at all with the Mets, and so he'll have to go discover another team, which will be interesting and frustrating. But because we believed in Brett Beatty as a first-round draft pick, but he's definitely going to be the guy to get the shot. I forget about Joey Meneses. I forget about that signing sometimes, and I think that's going to be a great backup first base option. But I don't want to put all our chips on the table with a 30-year-old first baseman right now, when we have young guys in the pipeline trying to develop and rise up and to be that player. Because at the end of the day, first base isn't a hard position to play. There are a lot of people that are able to transition in that way, and so guys, it'll be interesting to see. And as my camera starts to fall over, You know, the only thing I'll say about Jonathan's lineup is that I would I would move Francisco Alvarez up, man. You know, give the kid a shot. I think he's gonna have a breakout year. I think we've talked about it before, and you know, I think that's the only thing I like where Jeff McNeil is in the lineup, batting ninth, and you know, if we're batting Joey Meneses, I think it'd be lower in the lineup. So. That'd be my option, man. Yeah, give Brett Beatty a shot, give these other kids a shot, and guess who else is trying to climb up the pipeline? Ryan Clifford, and that could be another potential at first base.
Yeah, no. I don't see Ryan Clifford doing it anytime soon. I think he's going to be a guy that is if we don't get Pete, sign Pete for back, or if we do sign Pete, I think Joey is a guy. I mean, Clifford is a guy that is going to come either in 26 or 27. He's going to probably spend another year in Double A this year and make his way up. Hopefully towards the end of the season to Triple A, and so it's one of those things that you know if he doesn't if Pete doesn't sign, I think there's a lot of options that we can go to. A quick question by Jonathan: what happens if Nemo's plantar fasciitis acts up again? I think he's going to play a lot of DH. I think he's going to be. That's another reason why the Winker signing might be a good thing. Is even though he doesn't have the defense, he's going to be. He may be playing some outfield because of Nimmo. Without Nimmo, he during Amazing Day he said that he's feeling good. He hasn't started running yet, but that's not a big deal because he doesn't need to run right now, right? We'll see how it starts in the beginning of spring training. We're a few weeks away from training, and so this team, and that's the other thing. Now that I said we're a few weeks away from spring training, another thing that we need to understand as well is that. The team that we start with doesn't mean is the team that we end with, right? Last year, we signed JD Martinez a week before the season started. Jose Iglesias, a guy who we thought was going to make the lineup from spring training, didn't come up till June. June or July, to June, yeah, and so it's something that we can't get too crazy about our lineup. I know we want as fans to know exactly what our lineup is right now, but Stearns is always making moves, and he showed us that last year that if something's not working. In this organization, he's going to make the move, right? In this organization, he might not be able to do that so much in others, but with the flexibility of the payroll, he's going to make some moves if it's not working. He did it last year. What guys didn't make it? Hauser didn't make it. Diekman didn't make it. So if things aren't working, he's going to make some moves.
Yeah, it's concerning about Nimmo. Um, I was worried about him last year when he had that foot injury to end the year, and we found out that it had been lingering for the whole year, basically, and it really affected his season. Where by the All-Star break, he was having a great season, and then after that, it seemed like that foot was really plaguing his play, and so I am concerned about it because at the end of the day, you need your feet as an outfielder. You need your feet as a hitter. You need to be able to plant and turn on that foot. And so we saw how much it affected his play last year. And I just hope that it's not to the full extent this year because he's a good hitter. With his foot injury, he's a league average hitter. But we know that with that Brandon Nimmo can be a great hitter. We know he can be a 25 home run guy, an on base machine, and really set the tone in the middle of our lineup for the Mets. But if he's not healthy, then that kind of goes out the window, and he turns into like a Jeff McNeil type, where we're wondering if we even want him on the team, or if the contract was even worth it. And so that kind of concerns me a little bit. I hope that he's good to go by opening day. The fact that the reports were out that he's still that injury is still lingering, and we know that it's going to linger for the rest of his life. But that he hasn't been able to get comfortable with it is concerning. But that also goes back to maybe another possible first base option. Maybe he switches over to first base. We know that you do have to plant a good amount at first base, and that could affect him even more than the outfield. But might as well give it a shot, because he's not going to have to be as mobile. And we saw when he was his sprint speed was really affected by that foot, and in that outfield that's really important. And so maybe try him out at first base, see how that goes, and maybe he turns into a first baseman going forward.
No, for sure, for sure. I mean, who knows what, things change all the time, and so guys, we're we want to address, not a lot has happened, to be honest with you, other than Amazing Day. So we wanted to come on and address those things really quick, but we're gonna cut it short, short video for you guys today, but we'll be back next week. Hopefully, some movement has happened, and but before we get out of here, subscribe to the channel, like this video on replay. Give us your comments. Are you understanding of where the Mets are when it comes to Pete, or you still say give Pete whatever he wants? Let us know what you're thinking. We'd love to hear it. And so again, before we get out of here, Victor, any last words?
We want Pete. We want Pete. We want Pete. Let's go Mets, baby.
In Stearns we trust. Let's go Mets.